this particular session, we will talk about the challenges of the compensation, and we will be covering the other aspects of work compensation, that is what are the job analysis processes, valuing jobs and the pay survey. And we are talking about the job analysis. Here I would also like to mention that is that we have to differentiate between the job analysis and the job evaluation, because we are focusing on the job analysis. So, we will not be talking about the evaluation of the job rather than how job is to be analyzed. I would like to take the case study here of the bridging the gap in job analysis for enhance the strategic alignment. So, Technova, a leading technology solutions provider, face the significant challenges in aligning their job roles with the company's strategic goals. Now, you see every organization has to do the job analysis with the connector of the different roles are there, and therefore, in that case when we are talking about these different challenges, we will be aligning the job roles with the specific the organizational strategies and then the departmental strategic goals and then the individual strategic goals also. So, despite having the detailed job descriptions, discrepancies between the expected duties and the actual tasks performed by employees led to the inefficiencies and the dissatisfaction. Now, when we are integrating the organizational goal with these individual goals, with the job goals and the different roles of that to be done by the job, then in that case it is very important, that is there are certain do's and do nots with a particular job with which an employee has to understand. But that is in spite of the detailed job description, that is that job completely has been described, in spite of that sometimes it happens, that is the expected duties are not have been fulfilled, and the actual task which is required to be performed by these employees, that is not completed. So, naturally it will lead to the inefficiencies and definitely the job dissatisfaction for the employees also and for the organization also. So, additionally the company struggle with the high turnover rates. If the employee is not happy with his job and then by performing that particular job task, then definitely there will be discrepancy into the expected goals and the achieved goals, which will lead the job dissatisfaction to the not only to the employee, but organization will also take the action, and as a result of which the employees turnover will increase. The company struggle with the high turnover rates and skill gaps are there. Now, when we are talking about performing a particular job, then every job requires, whether it is a skilled, semi-skilled or unskilled job, it requires a certain ways to do the job, and especially for the semi-skilled and skilled jobs, there is a particular set of the skills which are required, and these when it is not matching, then rising the concern about their competitiveness in the industry is there. So, it will not be only the challenge to the employee, but it will be also challenge to the organization, because the organization is not able to match that particular requirement by a particular job and integrating that particular job role with the organizational goals. So, here it becomes very important, that is organization has to take the action. So, first and foremost thing which is noticed is the Technova recognized that to achieve a strategic goal objectives, they needed a thorough understanding of the key relationship and responsibilities and requirement of the each role. Unless and until you do not connect the responsibility and accountability with a particular job, if you recognize that and then assign to the employee, then definitely the efficiency that will be increasing. So, there is a need and which the Technova has done. So, Technova has and by understanding this type of the skill gaps, immediately they given the key responsibilities and define those key responsibilities to the employees, and as a result of which the every role which was classified under a particular job, that was also assigned with the certain responsibilities. So, there is no mismatch, there is no gap, and as a result of which what was happening, that every employee has understood, that is this is my job role, these are my duties and I have to perform in this particular way. So, in HR analytics tool was employed to map out the job duties and assess how they can contribute to the company's goals. So, here the HR analytics was used and that has helped, that is how they contributed to the company's goals and the individual's performance. The analysis revealed that many roles were not fully aligned with the strategic priorities. Many times it happens in the organization that is the work is done into the isolation and watertight compartments, as a result of which they are not interconnected. The same thing was observed here. When HR analytics was done, then it has been found that is many job roles were not fully aligned with the strategic priorities. They were not connected with the what was the strategy of the organization. So, particularly in emerging technologies and the innovation driven projects where the new things are to be done, and there has to be a proper sequence of the doing the jobs, and then this was the area which has been identified by the Technova, and Technova aligned all the strategic priorities for this type of the job roles. To gain insights into the how employees spent their time, and the Technova conducted a time motion study using advanced analytics, and this study highlighted significant discrepancies between the job descriptions and the actual tasks. Here now what was required? An action was required, that is those employees, those who are conducting a particular time period in a particular machine, and the organization, the Technova, they have conducted a time motion study, and while studying this time motion study by these advanced analytics, they come to know that is what are the significant discrepancies are there, because the employee is on the job, he is performing certain operations, but the inefficiency is there or the output is not there, then definitely we have to make the analysis and identify that is what is the job description and what is the actual task, and then if there is any gap, then with the help of these HR analytics we could find out that is what are the gaps are there. For instance, software developers spent a considerable amount of time on maintenance work rather than on new development projects. A very beautiful example is given here in this particular case study, that is for software developers, what they are supposed to do? They are supposed to spend the more time on that considerable amount, that is on the maintenance they were spending, rather than whatever they are supposed to do on the new development projects. If your business through software developers is about to developing the new businesses, new projects, and then if they are not doing, rather than they are spending most of the time on this maintenance, then definitely there is something which is required to do, because this is a contrary to the what their job discrepancies indicated. So, this misalignment was found to be a source of frustration among employees and contributing to low morale and the high turnover rates are there. The software developers which were supposed to develop their particular software, in spite of that they were more busy on the maintenance of that machines, and as a result of which and that how they could find out? They could find out with the help of that is a time motion study, and as a result of which the software developers, they were having the low morale and the high turnover rates were there. The HR team used the skills assessment tools to identify gaps within the workforce, and it was found that many employees lacked proficiency in key areas such as cloud computing and the cyber security. We have discussed so far that is how important this cloud computing is there, and if the software developers, if they are not working on this particular the functions, then definitely there will be the lack in the efficiency of the employees. So, here many employees lack the proficiency in key areas such as cloud computing and the cyber security. So, it was critical to the Technova for the strategic initiatives. Now, the organization, like here the example is of the Technova, that requires to focus on these particular gaps, to identify that what were the issues which are there was lack in the proficiency in the cloud computing and the cyber security. To address these gaps, the company launched the targeted training programs and recruited new talent with the required expertise. Now, this is also possible, that is they are having this type of the gap because of their employees are not expert, and the Technova they identified that is which are where the critical issues to Technova's further strategic initiatives. In address these gaps, the company launched the targeted training programs and recruited new talent with the required expertise. As soon as the expertise gap was found, skill gaps were found, that is the current employees they cannot have this type of this expertise. So, then in that case they were given the training programs, and the new recruitees were hired by the organization, so that skill gaps can be filled. To address these gaps, the company launched the targeted training programs and recruited the new talent, and as a result of which they have been developed. The new employees, those have been developed, and accordingly their company and they have ensured that is that the new talent with the required expertise is hired, so that there is no gap in the job roles. This proactive approach aimed to ensure that employees had the necessary skills to drive the company's growth. So, what was required and what they were performing in the actual task, though that particular gap which was identified with the help of the HR analytics, and those gaps were then fulfilled. Here when we are talking about the software developers, so therefore they have been given the training programs, and they are new recruited the young, these talented with the required expertise, and as a result of which this particular problem that has been solved. Here this proactive approach, which is aimed to ensure that employees had the necessary skills, that has helped the organization to increase his efficiency and the knowledge base. Technova compared their job roles with industry standards using the comparison and benchmarking data for pay surveys and the job analysis reports. Now, if you are going for the talent acquisition, talent hiring with the new skills development, or with those who are already have acquired those new skills, then definitely there will be a certain burden on the organization, financially also and non-financially also. So, these standards of these benchmarking data from the pre-survey job analysis reports, this comparison revealed that their roles were broader in scope, but often lack the depth seen in competitive organizations. So, it was observed that is this comparison, that the roles were identified and the training program was given and the new hire was taken into the organization. So, this all has their broader scope, but what was lacking is that is they lacked in the depth seen in the competitor organizations. For example, project manager at Technova had a wider range of responsibilities, but less authority and fewer resources to execute their projects effectively. So, in the Technova, when there was a requirement of the wider responsibilities, because we have now the new structure, new roles and additional roles were there with the every particular job after the HR analytics, then the challenge was that is how they will be adopting those new skills and new expertise. So, this range of responsibilities and the fewer resources execute their projects effectively. Aligning job roles with the industry standards was identified as a crucial step towards the improving the operational efficiency and employee satisfaction. So, here it has becoming very important, that is the job roles with the industry standards, which has been identified with through the HR analytics, and there were the certain crucial jobs also. And then all these they have taken towards the improving the operational efficiency, because as we have seen in the beginning of the case study, that is because of the skill gaps and the job roles, the organization was having the inefficiency and the less productivity. But as with the help of the HR analytics, this has been identified, and now these executives, managers, these positions, these jobs, they were able to fulfill those all requirements as a crucial step towards improving the organizational efficiency. And as a result of which, not only the turnover was reduced, but employee satisfaction was also increased. So, HR analytics were also used to analyze turnover rates and identity patterns indicating job dissatisfaction. So, one side we have clubbed the job roles, deficiency, improving job roles, and then getting the job done and higher efficiencies. So, another side, the HR analytics also helped to identify that is a pattern. What is the pattern of the dissatisfaction is there? Now, you see, for any organization, the cost of the employees hiring is very high, and therefore, in that case, if you are able to reduce that particular cost with the help of the HR analytics by identifying that is what are the reasons for the job dissatisfaction, and you want to reduce the employees turnover, automatically there will be the cost saving. So, it was found that roles with the highest turnover rates were those where job responsibilities were most misaligned with the employees' expectations and strategic goals. Naturally, the employees' turnover was increasing because of the job was not meeting the expectations of the employees, and especially the young employees nowadays, and therefore the job employees and turnover that becomes very, very high. So, here it becomes it was important. By doing this HR analytics, the organization, the Technova was able to manage the employees' expectations and aligning them with the strategic goals. For example, customer support role, and that had a high turnover due to the mismatch between the required skills and said the nature of the task performed, and by realigning the job roles and enhancing clarity in the job descriptions. So, if you are matching this between this required skill set and the nature of the task, then definitely the organizational performance that will be enhancing, and by realigning the job roles and enhancing the clarity in the job descriptions, take Nova aim to reduce the employees turnover and improve the job satisfaction. This way, job analytics that has become a very, very important role to reduce that employees turnover, and as a result of which it has been seen that is what was the mismatch between the performance of the job by the employees and the job goals, expectations, organizational role, and that with the help of the HR analytics the gap was identified, skills were filled, and the new jobs, new roles, they were having the fully equipped and the skilled employees, and as a result of which the employees satisfaction was more. As soon as employee satisfaction will be more, employees turnover will be less, and the Technova that has reduced that manpower turnover a basis of this job satisfaction amongst these the software developers and the other jobs which were performed by this particular organization. And here the questions arises which we have to understand: what are the key responsibilities and requirements of each role? Now, I would like to mention here that whenever we are talking about the job analysis and job descriptions, then in that case we have to first understand that job analysis, that manual which has been prepared by the organization, that is required to be very much perfect. When you are having the job analysis and you are using the HR analytics, then definitely in that case you are improving the job roles. If you are improving the job roles, then it is coming as a feedback for the job satisfaction. Now, this job description which has been mentioned by the HR manual, there also you can use this HR analytics, because this job description is designed on the basis of the survey which has been done by the another competitor organizations, and there we find out with the help of these HR analytics that what is the job analysis is there. But in spite of that, if the job analysis is not properly done with the surrounding managerial practices, then definitely in that case that job role will not lead to the job satisfaction. So, first question arises, that is the key responsibilities and requirement of each role, this job description, and how they align with our strategic goals are there. Now, here when we are classifying the jobs, so there will be the organizational goal, there will be the departmental sectional goals, and then there will be the job roles. So, matching of these all aspects, that will be the answer, that is the what will be the key responsibilities and requirements of the each role. If they are well defined, then they will be well aligned with the strategic goals of the organization. If you are able to do that, then definitely in that case you will find that is you are able to match that particular requirements which are required to be done by the organization. The second question arises, how do employees currently spend their time, and are there any discrepancies between the job descriptions and the actual duties performed? Here I would like to take the help of this particular case study in which we have discussed about, that is the HR analytics has helped to understand where they are spending their time. So, for example, these software developers, they were spending the more time on the maintenance as compared to the creating any new ideas. So, here it was required, that is this job description and the actual duties performed by that particular employees, they are required to develop that particular analysis, HR analytics, which will give you the time management. And then when you find your employees are not able to focus on the time management of the productivity, and then they are busy in the supporting activities of that particular job, then definitely that is to be controlled. And here we are talking about the HR analytics. What are the skill gaps in our current workforce and how can we address them through the training or hiring is there. With the help of the HR analytics, we have identified those gaps, and when we have identified those gaps, then that were required, that is the how we can reduce their maintenance time and when we can increase their production time. And when we are increasing their production time, then definitely in that case we identify those areas where they require the training and development, and accordingly you are the internal employees, those who were already working and were not able to perform and employees turnover was high, then you train them, and external employees, those who are talented employees, those who were able to acquire that particular skills, those they were get the higher positions. Now the another question arises that how do our job roles compare with the industry standards in terms of the scope and complexity? Because we are taking the help of the HR analytics. So naturally it should lead to make a successful job roles. And what is the turnover rate for the each role? And are there any patterns indicating dissatisfaction with the job responsibilities? So, this turnover rate for the each role are there indicating that there employees dissatisfaction and the job responsibilities. If you are matching them with their appropriate job roles, then that efficiency will be increasing and the job dissatisfaction will be decreasing. Now, the second part, that is about the valuing the jobs. How do you valuing the jobs are there? Here I would like to take the case study of ensuring the fair and strategic job valuation at FinTech Solutions. So, FinTech Solutions, a rapidly growing financial technology firm, faced challenges in establishing a fair and consistent job valuation system, and the inconsistencies in the job worth and perceptions of the unfair valuation negatively impacted employee morale, productivity and the diversity within the organization. So, FinTech has especially was facing that particular challenge related to the job valuation systems. So, jobs were not having the proper valuation, as a result of which the performance, the assignments and then the monetary benefits, that all were to be considered in the particular aspects. So, internal inconsistencies in the job worth and the perceptions of the unfair valuation negatively impacted employee morale, productivity, and as a result of which the HR team at FinTech Solutions conducted an internal audit using HR analytics, and the HR analytics to evaluate the worth of the various roles across the departments. As we have seen in the first part of the job analysis, that is the how this HR analytics was done, and the analysis revealed significant inconsistencies in how jobs were valued. And for example, roles in the IT department were often undervalued compared to the similar role in the financial department, despite having the comparable responsibilities and the required skills. And this inconsistency was addressed by standardizing the evaluation criteria across all departments to ensure a fair internal job worth hierarchy is there and there is no discrepancies between the two departments. To understand the employee perceptions, FinTech Solutions conducted an anonymous survey and that measured the perceived fairness in the job valuations. The survey results indicated that many employees felt their roles were undervalued, leading to the decreased morale and the productivity. By addressing these perceptions and making the valuation process more transparent, the company aimed to boost the employees' satisfaction and engagement at a higher level. The FinTech Solutions use the market rate data from industry specific pay. So, pay survey to compare their salaries with those of the similar positions in the industry. The analysis revealed that their compensation package were below market rates for the key roles such as software developers and data analysis. To remain competitive, the company adjusted salaries to the match or exceed the industry standards, helping to attract and retain the top talent. The HR analytics tools also highlighted their job valuations had an unintended impact on diversity and inclusion, and the role predominantly held by the women and minorities were often undervalued compared to their help what has been held by their counterparts. Recognizing this, fintech solutions implemented a review process to ensure that the job valuations were free from biases, promoting a more inclusive the workplace is there. The analysis identified critical competencies and required for the high value jobs such as expertise in the blockchain technology and advanced data analysis. It has found that the competencies were lacking in the current workforce. To address the fintech solutions, invested in the targeted training programs, and they recruited the new talent with these critical skills, ensuring the company remained at the forefront of the technological advancement in the industry. Here the relevant questions becomes, what is the internal job worth hierarchy and how consistently are the job evaluated across the departments? How do employees perceive the fairness of their job valuation and how does this impact moral and productivity? What are the market rates for the similar positions in our industry and how do we our salaries they are compared? We have to also understand how do these job evaluation affect diversity and inclusion within our organization. What are the critical competencies for the high value jobs and how they prevent their in their now current workforce. Finally, I would like to take the pay surveys. And the Health Tech Incorporation, a leading healthcare technology company, faced challenges in ensuring their compensation packages remain competitive and fair across different roles and locations. The company aimed to leverage external pay survey to optimize their compensation strategy and stay ahead in the industry. Health Tech Incorporation conducted a thorough evaluation to identify the most accurate and relevant external pay surveys for their industry and the geographical locations. By using HR analytics, they determined that surveys from industry specific sources such as the Healthcare Information and Management System Society, that is the HMSS, and the region specific survey, and like the Western Compensation and Benefit Association, that is the WCBA, provided the most actionable data. This survey offered the comprehensive insights into this salary benchmark, benefit and the incentives specific to the healthcare technology sector. Using data from these surveys, Health Tech Incorporation compared their compensation packages with those of the key competitors. The analysis revealed that while their base salaries were competitive, their benefits and incentives lagged behind. For instance, competitors offered more generous stock options and wellness programs. To bridge this gap, Health Tech Incorporation revamped their benefits package to include the enhanced health benefits, stock options and the professional development opportunities. Healthcare Incorporation identified emerging trends in the pay practices through the continuous monitoring of the survey data. Trends such as the flexible working arrangements, performance based bonuses and the increased focus on the mental health benefits were becoming the prevalent. By adopting these trends, Healthcare Incorporation introduced a flexible and the work hours and the enhanced moral health support programs, aligning their practices with the industry standards and the boosting the employee satisfaction. The pay surveys also provided insights into the how employees demographics affected market rates and the compensation expectations. For example, younger employees valued the career development opportunities more highly than the older employees who prioritize retirement benefits. By segmenting their compensation strategy based on the demographics data, Health Tech Incorporations tailored their offerings to meet the diverse needs of their workforce and thereby improving the retention and engagement. Healthcare Incorporation assessed the return on investment ROI for the participating in various pay surveys, and surveys that provided detailed industry specific data and actionable insights were found to offer the highest ROI. For instance, the HIMSS survey not only helped in the benchmarking salaries, but also in understanding the broader industry trends and best practices. By focusing on the high ROI surveys, Healthcare Incorporation ensured they make the informed decisions that align with their strategic goals. Now, the question arises, which external pay surveys provide the most accurate and relevant data for our industry and geographic locations? How do our compensation packages compare to those of our the competitors in terms of the base salary, benefits and incentives? what trends are emerging in pay practices within our industry and how can we adapt to stay competitive. Finally, how do employee demographics, example these age, gender, experience after their market rate and the compensation expectations. What is the return on investment for the participating in different pay surveys and which ones offers the most actionable insights? These questions will be raised which are supposed to be answered with the help of this particular case study. Thank you.